All right, Shalom Israel. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha, Kwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai.
I had the nuclear war nightmare last night. I haven't had that nightmare since I was a little girl. And at 50 years old, I dreamed that we were blown up. Nuclear holocaust. See, when I was coming up, this was like one of my big fears, you know? The Cold War was real big, nuclear weapons of mass destruction. They were definitely the thing, and we had at the time mutually assured destruction, which was what kept us from starting wars. And now we have Trump. And I'm having nightmares, and yeah. I'm not even, I mean, like, seriously, this is a nightmare I stopped having when I was like 13, and I'm 50, and woohoo! Happy 2026.
So as you've seen in the video right there, the woman had a dream that America experienced a nuclear holocaust. Now, these dreams that people keep having, they're not just dreams that people are having for no reason, okay? In the book of Joel, let's type in dreams and then hit search here. Okay. Joel chapter 2 verse 28. Behold, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And what is that? The spirit to see what is going to befall them and their country in the future before it happens. So the Lord said that he will pour out his spirit upon all flesh. So it's not just Israelites that's going to have dreams and visions of America being completely destroyed. Okay, I remember in my earlier years of being in this truth, I had a dream that I was on a chariot, and while I was looking out the window, the window was like on the ground or whatever. But when I was looking down from out the window from the chariot, I literally saw the whole entire United States of America on fire. Okay. And America's complete nuclear destruction is mentioned in multiple different books throughout the Holy Scriptures, in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. So when we go to Isaiah, okay, at 13 verse 19, this is what the prophet Isaiah said about Babylon. Now, this is not talking about ancient Babylon. And let me show you why. Okay, Isaiah 13 verse 19, because Isaiah was living in ancient Babylon at the time that he made this prophecy. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, how was ancient Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? Ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by fire and brimstone. And ultimately, it became a city that was never inhabited ever again. Now, ancient Babylon did not meet this fate. And in a matter of fact, when you do your research, when you research and you study history, you'll find out that ancient Babylon went through a transition of power. Okay, it went from the Assyrian Babylonian Empire to the Medo-Persian Empire. And then afterwards, the Israelites who were captive in Babylon went into captivity under the Greeks. Okay, which would be the third beast, okay, that you read about in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, which will be the leopard with the 4 wings and the 4 heads. So, in which we know that the leopard is Alexander the Greek, and the 4 wings, or not and, but or the 4 heads would be Alexander's 4 generals. Okay, Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucid, in which these 4 generals ultimately ended up going their ways after the death of Alexander, and they ended up making themselves rulers. Okay, they ended up making themselves rulers. And it tells you evils were multiplied in the earth. So there's no record of ancient Babylon being destroyed by fire and brimstone and never being inhabited again. And a matter of fact, you still got people who live in ancient Babylon, who still walk by there, who still take pictures, you know. So ancient Babylon was not destroyed. It simply went through a transition of power. It went from the Assyrian, the Assyrian Babylonian Empire to the Medo-Persian Babylonian Empire. And then when the Greeks came along, you know, there's that history of Israel being taken from Babylon into the Greco, the Greco, or the empire of the Greeks. So when Isaiah was speaking of this Babylon right here, which is to be destroyed, he was not talking about ancient Babylon. He was talking about a different Babylon, in which this new Babylon, which was spoken of by Isaiah, was also spoken of by John the Revelator when you go to the book of Revelation. Okay, especially Revelation, the 17th chapter. It speaks about a woman that was decked out with purple and scarlet coloring and all manner of gemstones and pearls. Okay. And she had on her forehead written, Mystery Babylon the Great. So while John was on the island of Patmos, John the Revelator, he saw a new Babylon rising up in the earth. And this new Babylon would take its roots in the earth in the last days. Not during his time, not during his lifetime, okay? But during the Renaissance period, okay, he saw a new Babylon. And this one was called Mystery Babylon the Great. Why was it called Mystery Babylon the Great? Okay. Because this is a country, a country unlike any other country that has ever been on the planet, having a vast military, accepting religions and customs from all other nations under heaven. Okay. And this would also be the very first country to give women rights, liberty, authority, and power. Just nothing but complete confusion here. So this was called Mystery Babylon. Okay. Which would also be the little horn that would rise up out of the fourth beast, in which that little horn would represent the revival of Rome. Which is why when you go to Revelation 13, you hear about a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. A scarlet colored beast, in which the word scarlet is just another color for red. And we know red is synonymous with Esau, Edom, who in the latter days will rise up to power, according to Genesis, the 27th chapter, when he will be blessed with the fatness of the earth, meaning he will have control over the whole face of the earth. And okay, the best parts of the earth will be given to him. Okay. So this scarlet colored beast will be ruled by Esau, Edom, the Edomites. Okay. And I forgot which book it was. It could be Ezekiel, where Edom is tied to Babylon. Now we know that there's no record of the Edomites, which is the self-proclaimed white man, ruling in ancient Babylon. So which Babylon would this be talking about? This will be talking about Mystery Babylon the Great. So this is Mystery Babylon the Great, that's going to be completely wiped out from off the face of the earth. And that's according to Revelation 17, verse 17, which I'm going to be getting after I read verse 22. So Isaiah 13, verse 20. And so we know ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by fire and brimstone. This time, the fire and the brimstone is going to come in the form of what? The fire and brimstone is going to come in the form of nuclear warheads. Okay, the reason why the Heavenly Father gave Albert Einstein the knowledge to split the atom to create weapons of mass destruction was ultimately to fulfill prophecy. Because later on down the line, okay, the Lord would use the Edomites to bring about the end of their own rulership. Because what did Yahushua say in Matthew's the 12th chapter? Okay. As a matter of fact, let's go there. Matthew's 12. Okay, Matthew 12, verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Okay, so Esau is being divided against himself. And that's according to Ezekiel 38, where the Lord told Gog, Magog, which is Russia, okay, Gog, which the Lord told Russia that he would put hooks in their jaws and turn them back. And what would the Lord turn Russia back from doing? From being an ally of the United States of America. Because ultimately, Donald Trump wants to be an ally of the United States of America. But it's not in the Lord's plans. The Lord is going to continue to increase tensions between Russia and the United States. Because ultimately, the Lord is going to use the United States and NATO to bring about the end of the United States of America via a nuclear holocaust, which is going to be caused by nuclear warheads. So Isaiah 13, verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt there from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, her days shall not be prolonged. Now, if you notice, desert-like creatures are described as dwelling over here on the soils of America. And the reason why that is because after the fire and smoke go out from the explosion of nuclear warheads, this place is going to be a huge desert. Okay. And they show you examples of that in movies like Planet of the Apes, where towards the end of the movie, the protagonist finds out that he was in New York the whole time. And I believe it was after he found the Statue of Liberty. Okay. Now, and of course, Esau is always going to throw some BS in his movies, because according to the Holy Scriptures, there's not going to be anything left on the soils of America after its nuclear destruction. There ain't going to be no Statue of Liberty. There ain't going to be no Nike shoes laying around. Ain't going to be no flat screen TVs, no robots, no killer bots, no murder bots, no robots, no drones, none of that shit. No drone pieces. Okay, ain't gonna be, you ain't gonna see a McDonald's right there. You're not gonna see a Saks South Fifth Avenue right there at Saks South Fifth. You ain't gonna see no Cheesecake Factory over there. You ain't gonna see no remnants of a McDonald's sign. You're not gonna see any of those things. The only thing you're gonna see on the soils of America after the fire and smoke go out is dirt and rocks and debris everywhere. Going to look like a gigantic ruins. Okay. Then Isaiah 34. Isaiah 34:1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people, and let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Okay, now here comes the key point. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. What's going to cause the heavens to be dissolved? Was there anything hot enough back in the ancient world 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago that was hot enough to dissolve the heavens? No. So what's hot enough to dissolve the heavens in this generation? Nuclear warheads. Now, when it says the heavens shall be dissolved, it's talking about here on earth. Because in the Holy Scriptures, there are three heavens. The first heavens is here on the earth, in which this is the so-called white man's heaven. Okay? He has the fatness of the earth, as he was blessed with by Isaac in the book of Genesis, the 27th chapter. He will have the fatness of the earth. So we're living in the so-called white man's heaven, okay? Where there's polluted water, backed up sewage pipes, GMO foods, animals roaming around, eating out of garbage cans, eating people, horses doodling on people cars, people doing all kind of strange shit like eating horse apples, drinking liquor with cold nitrogen in it. You know, people experimenting with batteries, drones everywhere, robots getting ready to patrol people, patrol the streets, patrol activities. Okay? This is the so-called white man's heaven. So the first heaven would be here on earth. The second heaven is what the world ignorantly calls outer space. The Bible tells you there's waters up there. Okay? So what do Esau mean by outer space? Okay, it ain't no outer space up there. Anyways, that's the second heaven. The third heaven is the spirit world. And that's where all spirits go when they die. And I'm talking about all spirit, every person that has a spirit in their body. That's your spirit goes to the spirit world after you die. But the spirit of animals go downwards to the earth, like it tells you in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. Okay? Everyone's spirit goes to the spirit world, which is the third heaven. So when it says the heavens shall be dissolved, that's talking about the so-called white man's heaven, which is namely talking about over here on the soils of America. Because America is a part of the so-called white man's heaven. This is the heaven that's going to be completely dissolved. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. Okay? And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. And when you look at a mushroom cloud, it literally looks like a scroll spreading throughout the sky when the nuclear bomb is freshly being set off after hitting ground zero. Okay, it looks like a scroll. Okay, you ever seen a scroll, spreading out when you're just unrolling it? Well, that's what a nuclear cloud looks like when it's when it first explodes and it just spreads out and it gets bigger and bigger. That's what Isaiah saw. In other words, Isaiah saw the mushroom cloud of a nuclear explosion. The only thing was that the reason why he described it as a scroll was because during his time, nuclear warheads did not exist. Okay, they exist in this generation because, like it tells you in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter and the 7th verse on down, Esau is the end of the world. and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay, so Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, will be the one to bring about the end of his own rulership. Because once America is gone, okay, the rest of the world is going to be enslaved. The so-called elites, the Rothschilds, they're all going into captivity. The Rothschilds, the so-called elites, and all of their so-called elite families, they're all going to be slaves. Okay. It says, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth from off the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So the Lord said that my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Okay. This sword, which shall be bathed in heaven, is the device. Okay. Jeremiah 51 real quick. Okay. Jeremiah 51 verse 11. Make bright the arrows. Now, sometimes when you see arrows in the Holy Scriptures, it's talking about literal arrows. But in certain cases, when you see arrows in the Holy Scriptures, it's actually a dark saying or a metaphor for intercontinental ballistic missiles, which could carry up to multiple nuclear warheads. So when Jeremiah is saying, make bright the arrows here, he's not talking about actual arrows. He's talking about ICBM missiles, which could carry up to multiple nuclear warheads. Oh, man. Okay, that's what he's talking about. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord had raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes. Now the Medes are also mentioned in Isaiah 13. Okay. Okay. In Isaiah 13, the Medes are mentioned. And we know that the ancient Medes were people of Japhetic origin. Okay. But ultimately, okay, the Edomites ended up dwelling in that land, the land of the Medes right now, in which the name of that place was changed to Russia. So the land of the Medes is no longer being called the land of the Medes. The land of the Medes is now being called Russia, which is predominantly inhabited by Edomites, calling themselves Russians, which is a part of the covering cast which was put around them to hide their identity, their true identity, which is in the Holy Scriptures, which is the fact that they are Edomites. They're not Russians, they're Edomites. Now, do you have Israelites living amongst the Russians down there in Russia? Absolutely. You're going to have Israelites that look like so-called Russians living amongst the Russians. You see? So when it says the Lord have raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, that's talking about Russia today. That's not talking about the ancient Medes. Okay? For his device, what device? The intercontinental ballistic missiles, which Russia is known to have. His device is against Babylon. To what? To destroy it. You see that? Because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Okay, and to show you that the Lord is the one who created these different scientists, Isaiah 56. Or actually, it might be Isaiah 54. Okay, Isaiah 54, verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. Now, back in the ancient world, a smith was known for making weapons. In this generation, your modern day smiths are your scientists, which are known for making weapons of mass destruction. In this case, the weapons of mass destruction will be those nuclear warheads. So behold, I have created the smith, the scientists, that bloweth the coals in the fire. Blowing the coals in the fire is an example of doing that would be splitting atoms, mixing chemicals together, putting together formulas to see what kind of reactions you get. That's how your modern day smiths, which are your scientists, that's how they're able to create all these deadly pathogens and viruses and diseases. Okay? Because these Edomites have mad scientists working for them. Okay? And now I don't need to tell you how many scientists have died, playing with fire. You know what I mean by playing with fire. Okay? It says, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. What instrument? The weapons of mass destruction, which are those nuclear warheads. And I've created the waster. What is a waster? A waster is something that destroys. And I've created a waster to destroy. You see? So the Lord said that he have created the waster to destroy. Okay, and in this case, the waster will be the nuclear warheads. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Revelation 17:17, right? Okay. Mystery Babylon. Okay, victory for the Lamb. Okay, so let's see. We know that the woman that sit upon the scarlet colored beast is Mystery Babylon the Great, which is America, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Okay. Okay. So let's start at let's see, Revelation chapter 17. Let's start at 14. Okay, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb. We know that the Lamb is Yahushua, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him, which are the angels, are called and chosen and faithful. Okay. And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, the whore is talking about America, Mystery Babylon the Great. And that's another thing too. You know, you got a lot of people who want to deny that America is Babylon the Great. Well, how come there's a saying as make America great again? Will not America the Great be Babylon the Great in the Holy Scriptures? It would only make sense, right? If America was once a great country, that does not change the fact that it is Babylon the Great in the Holy Scriptures. Okay. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast here is talking about NATO. Okay, the 7 heads and 10 horns. This is NATO. Okay. These shall hate the whore. Now the 10 horns which sit upon NATO are 10 cities. And these 10 cities make up the ECC, which is the European Economic Community, or the EU, which is the acronym for the European Union. So it is the European Union that is going to shoot their intercontinental ballistic missiles on America along with Russia helping them. Okay, Russia shooting their intercontinental ballistic missiles on America. Okay, and China and India and every other country that is nuclear capable. North Korea, Iran shooting their nuclear arsenal on America. And of course the land of Israel, where them small hats dwell at. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For what Yahweh have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So, yeah, eating her flesh and making her desolate and burning her with fire. That's that's a saying, that's a metaphor for NATO shooting their intercontinental ballistic missiles on America. Because when you come over here, let's go to Obadiah chapter 1 verse 7. This is what it says. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevail against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So America's allies are going to turn on America and destroy this country. So with that, I'm going to say Shalom is on to the next one.
I had the nuclear war nightmare last night. I haven't had that nightmare since I was a little girl. And at 50 years old, I dreamed that we were blown up. Nuclear holocaust. See, when I was coming up, this was like one of my big fears, you know? The Cold War was real big, nuclear weapons of mass destruction. They were definitely the thing, and we had at the time mutually assured destruction, which was what kept us from starting wars. And now we have Trump. And I'm having nightmares, and yeah. I'm not even, I mean, like, seriously, this is a nightmare I stopped having when I was like 13. And I'm 50, and woohoo! Happy 2026.